This presentation will discuss imagination and creativity as it applies to your children and their teachers. We will discuss what imagination and creativity are, what they look like in our schools, the benefits, challenges, how they are incorporated into your child's classroom, and why they are important to your children and their teachers. Imagination can be defined in many different ways by many different people. The Oxford Dictionary defines imagination as the action of forming new ideas, images, or concepts that are not present to the senses. Lew and Note Brandon define imagination as the capacity to conceive what is not, in terms of something that does not exist or cannot be perceived to exist. Desailly relates imagination to creativity in terms of going beyond fantasizing, including originality, seeing things in a new light, and investigating alternatives in unusual ways. Through these definitions, we can assume a broad understanding of imagination as a concept. But what is imagination to your children? What is imagination to your children's teachers? What does it look like in the classroom? This is what we will be investigating throughout this presentation. But first, we need to look at creativity. Creativity too can be defined in many different ways by many different people. The Oxford Dictionary defines creativity as the use of imagination and original ideas to create something new. Jefferson and Anderson describe creativity as a definable, knowable, and teachable skill, essential to 21st century learning. Jefferson and Anderson also describe creativity to be part of our daily lives and a quality that is exercised by everyone in terms of being at a capacity to learn, strengthen, and develop. In relation to imagination, Lew and Note Brandon argue that if imagination is the capacity to conceive of what is not, then creativity in turn is imagination applied, doing something or making something with that initial conception. Now that we have explored both imagination and creativity, we can have a look at what they look like in your child's classroom for your child and for their teachers. Creativity drives creative possibility, critical reflection, communication, and collaboration instead of standardized testing and homogenized learning. This can be true for both students and teachers, in a classroom where students and the teacher critically reflect, communicate, and elaborate. A classroom in which teachers cater for diversity and differentiated learning needs through creativity, including open-ended tasks and various learning approaches. Desailly suggests that teachers can see creativity in many different ways and can find it hard to envision what creativity actually looks like. Therefore, they can struggle planning with it, encouraging it, or fostering it. Teachers must be able to exercise and understand their own creativity before being able to encourage and foster creativity in students. In the same way, Egan and Madej suggest that cognitive tools, developing curriculum packages, and imaginative teachers aid in developing imaginative education in the imaginative classroom. Egan and Madej also suggest that imaginative education must explicate the characteristics of imaginative teachers and find out how they can become imaginative teachers. It can then be said that in order to exercise imaginative education in the imaginative classroom, teachers must have an understanding and be able to exercise their own imagination. Alternatively, imagination can be viewed as two separate senses. According to Dewey's account of imagination, imagination can be seen as both an empathetic projection or as a primary sense, which suggests it is at the core of moral inquiry. In this way, imagination can look like empathetic projection, a primary sense, and at the core of moral inquiry in the classroom. So now that we have looked at what imagination and creativity look like for your child and their teachers in the classroom, we can look at the benefits of imagination and creativity in the classroom. There are many benefits of incorporating and encouraging imagination and creativity in the classroom. Two of the most important benefits are students will be supported and challenged in their learning, and learning becomes differentiated for each individual student. Pickett and Maud suggest that creativity in the classroom and creative teachers that support and challenge thinking allow students to have enjoyable and engaging learning experiences. Students who feel supported in their creativeness will often engage with learning in the classroom at a higher rate. Everyone's imagination and creativity is different and unique. Incorporating imagination and creativity into the classroom allows students to learn in a non-traditional way. Not only does this differentiate learning outcomes for students, it means that students are able to express themselves and learn in diverse ways. Bleazby suggests that traditional schooling discourages imagination by presenting facts and fixed environments to students. This means that your child will be supported, challenged, and encouraged to be imaginative and creative in their education, which will result in supportive, enjoyable, engaging, and diverse learning in their classroom. The benefits of imagination and creativity for your child's teacher are quite straightforward. Imagination and creativity prove to support, challenge, and encourage students in their learning, making students feel supported, engaged, and enjoy their learning. For a teacher, this means a positive learning environment, in which all learners are catered for and learning outcomes can be met by enthusiastic students. Here are some snapshots of mind maps I have produced. The mind maps display my thoughts on the benefits of imagination and creativity in the classroom from the perspective of an emerging pre-service teacher. While there are benefits of imagination and creativity in the classroom, there are also challenges for both students and teachers. Let's look at some of the challenges of imagination and creativity in the classroom for your child and their teachers. While we looked at non-traditional learning as a benefit of imagination and creativity in the classroom, it is also important to consider that not all students have the opportunity to experience this. As Bleazby suggests, that traditional schooling discourages imagination. This can be seen as a challenge to students who attend traditional schooling environments. In order to be creative thinkers, students need to become aware of different voices and opinions and different ways of seeing things. This can be a challenge for some students, in terms of grasping and understanding of other people's views. It can also be difficult for students to be open-minded and see concepts and ideas in a different light. There are many ways that these challenges can be overcome by your children, but the main factor in moving past these challenges is the support from their teacher in exercising imagination and creativity in the classroom. One of the biggest challenges for your child's teacher is most likely the idea that many teachers do not see themselves as creative. If your child's teacher is unable to exercise their own creativity, then they will be unable to lead by example or encourage your children to do the same. Similarly, Loop and Note Brandon argue that teachers may fear imagination and may feel that people around them have a more interesting or expansive imagination. Perhaps they feel that their imagination will isolate them and make them too different from everyone else, or that they are not able to cultivate imagination for their students. Here are some more snapshots of mind maps I have produced that display my thoughts on the challenges of imagination and creativity in the classroom. Now that we've looked at the benefits and challenges of imagination and creativity, let's have a look at how they can be incorporated through different curriculum areas in the classroom. Here are 4 ways that imagination and creativity can be incorporated into your child's classroom. The 6 Thinking Hats incorporates imagination into student learning, as students need to imagine different kinds of thinking and expand their knowledge in different areas based on an imaginative concept. Philosophy incorporates expanding student imagination by allowing them to consider information they receive in various different ways and in a new light. Poetry incorporates English curriculum and can be used exclusively within the subject area or as a cross-curriculum concept. In this way, students will need to be creative and develop higher-level thinking skills to complete tasks that include poetry. In terms of imagination and creativity, teachers need to be passionate, committed, and engaged to both physical education and creativity. I think that we now have a clear understanding of the implications and concepts behind imagination and creativity, as it applies to your children as students and their teachers. But why is imagination and creativity important for your children and their teachers? Why is it important for you as parents and guardians to consider imagination and creativity for your children and their teachers? Imagination and creativity are important for everyone, not just your children and their teachers. Jefferson and Anderson suggest that creativity is part of everyone's daily life and exercised by all, as it is a capacity to learn, strengthen, and develop. It is important for your children's creativity and imagination to be fostered and encouraged by their teachers, and so a teacher who is able to step back, observe, and analyze creativity is successful. Desailly also argues that teachers will learn about creativity from their students. Your child's creativeness is intertwined with their teacher's ability to be creative, and so in this way it is important that imagination and creativity are exercised by both students and teachers. Beghetto, Kaufman, and Kaufman argue, similarly, that both teachers and students need to go through developmental stages of creativity in order to understand creativity in different ways. Through both imagination and creativity, your children and their teachers can learn together to work towards learning outcomes and academic achievements. Thank you to the parents and guardians who are watching this presentation on imagination and creativity as it applies to students and teachers.